Hello and welcome to Americans Talk Australian Survivor. I'm Rachel.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Matt.
Thanks for joining us. We've just watched episode 4 of Australian Survivor Titans vs. Rebels, and there will be spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the episode, pause here and come back when you finished. First, we'd like to give a shout out to Jimmy, a listener since last season. He emailed in to let us know about all these opportunities to meet up with Survivor players. Sounds like in Australia, King George and Johnny Fairplay are going to be hosting some events. So if you end up meeting them, write in, let us know what's going on. And thanks, Jimmy, for your continued support. So to start off this episode, we see the Rebels having fun. They're playing Twister. Kelly's organized a game where she uses seaweed and rocks and things instead of the traditional Twister colors. And it looks like they're having a great time.
It looked like most of them were having fun. Yeah, looks like it would be a fun time. Right. The great view, and they're happy.
Right. But one person isn't.
And that seems to be Aileen. And so we see her intro video, and we learn a little bit more about her background. And she seems to think that there's a lot of big personalities on this tribe. And she thought that she'd be a leader, but it turns out she's taking more of a backseat so far this season. So we hear a little bit about her background, and we find out that her parents pushed her to accomplish a lot of goals. A lot of her friends are at top-tier universities, and she's taking a different path in life. She's cutting corners, seeing how she can achieve her goals in a different way. So this is an interesting take on life, and I'm excited to see how it progresses throughout the game. She seems like a very interesting person.
Right. She's seems a little laid back, not like the other personalities on her team who are so forceful. So this may come to be her advantage in the game of Survivor, being kind of a little not as powerful or not as strong-willed as her other players.
Outwardly more mellow.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because she is very strong. She has a very strong inner personality and very smart. Mm-hmm. But she's right now playing kind of a soft end. But it sounds like she might be changing her attitude.
And I think that's a great strategy early in the game to kind of sit back, kind of observe, see where things lie, and then start making moves once you get a little bit more settled. And we'll definitely see some interesting strategies from Aileen later this episode, and we're excited to see what else she brings to the table later in the season.
So then we go to the Titans, and oh my gosh, isn't that beautiful what they were looking at? I mean, just absolutely beautiful scenery. How wonderful just to be there.
And they're feeling good too, because they just came home. Or they didn't have to come home from tribal.
Right. So very exciting time.
And they're waking up after a night off, feeling refreshed, doing well. And we hear a little bit more about Caroline. She's a midwife, and she notes that as a midwife, she has to make sure that things are always going well, and she has to have kind of an inner sense of when there is trouble or danger on the horizon. And she notices that she's getting that feeling with 2 V's. So that's Viola and Valeria. She's noticing they're a little bit too close. And as a member of the middle-aged mafia, Caroline's senses are kind of prickling that she needs to keep an eye out for these 2.
But she keeps a little too close of an eye on the 2 of them.
Right. Jumping into their conversations and following them around all the time. And they just want to be able to live their life, as they say, right?
Yeah. It's just
give me a break from hanging out with me all the time.
Yeah, it's too forward. Mm-hmm. They know that she's obviously very interested in what they have to say.
Yeah, and they're complaining that they can't even have a conversation, just the 2 of them, without Caroline coming up and interrupting. So this is an interesting place to be in Survivor, because you want to make sure that you're watching out for everyone in the tribe and making sure that there are no power duos that are going to come back and get you later. However, you have to make sure that you're not being too suspicious and playing the game too hard right at the beginning.
Wasn't King George always in everyone's conversation last season?
He would just walk up and just join them without even saying anything. Just stand there.
Yeah. I think that makes sense when you're on your way to tribal council. But at this point in the game, we're waking up after a day off of tribal. We haven't even done the reward challenge. We don't need to be listening in on every single conversation.
Right. They're just kind of relaxing in the water, and then she has to come walking up and sit down with them or talk to them.
Yeah, so Caroline's still kind of walking that line, figuring out how she's going to play this game. And meanwhile, Valeria says that sweet Caroline is not that sweet. So definitely some tension there, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out later in the game.
So then we're back to the Rebels, and Alex says, maybe throwing a challenge was a dumb move.
it was a dumb move because his friend Peter got voted out.
Yeah.
And that was not his goal when he threw the challenge, but it never seems to work.
No, it doesn't.
So hopefully future players of Australian Survivor will listen to our podcast and take heed, right? Don't throw a challenge. It doesn't always work the way you want it to.
Another example of how it never works out to throw a challenge. So Kirby made some interesting decisions last Tribal Council, last episode, where she decided she would vote with the Cuddle Crew in order to kind of keep in their good graces, while knowing that her vote would not count and would not, make a difference in the end, and that Peter would still end up going home. So she wanted the outcome that the Majority Alliance wanted, but she also was looking to kind of stay aligned with the Cuddle Crew. And this really backfired on her in this episode.
So she says that it was her idea for the blind side when she had a little talk. And then Garrett confronts Kirby. He says, you know what, I know how to count. I counted the votes, and you didn't vote our way.
It brought him to tears.
Yeah, that's what he said. But Kirby just kind of, she's very stone-faced.
Right.
She didn't try to defend herself. She didn't do anything. She smiles, doesn't really say anything. And then Ferris also says he's worried because Kirby lied to them. And he said, oh, she's a little shaky. So right now, Garrett and Ferris are a little concerned about Kirby.
I think they might have left something out of the conversation. That's the way I feel. I feel that Kirby would have said something and they just edited it out of the show. They didn't use that part of the show. That's my feeling right now.
Could be.
I could be wrong, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't think Kirby would just, blow Garrett off like that just for asking that question. I feel like she needs to say, I'm still with you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Unless she isn't.
So that was very exciting to hear that their conversation. But then what really gets exciting is that Ferris is out in the woods, and what does he find?
Finds a box with a padlock on it. So this box is kind of buried a little bit underground and only the surface is visible. And there's a lock so they can't get through. So he says that if it's locked up, there's got to be something interesting in here. But he doesn't know where to find the key.
Yeah.
So,
but how exciting to be out there and see that. This is a brand new thing, right?
Right.
It's not just an idol sitting there. It's a new
a new thing we haven't seen before.
Right.
We've seen bird cages and the regular Survivor, and we've seen other sort of, hidden items, but never a buried box.
We've seen a cookie jar.
Yeah. We're suspecting there's treasure inside the box.
Yeah.
So stay tuned.
But nothing about the other side finding a box.
No, just the side. And then it goes right to reward.
And so this reward is where two players of each tribe are competing, and there's one who's on the offense and one who's on defense. The defensive player has like a cushion, and they're trying to block out the offensive side, and one person's just trying to ring the bell and kind of jump off a ledge into the water. So if you jump off, hit the bell, and fall into the water, you get a point for your team, and 3 is the number we're looking for to win the challenge.
And the first challenge is a big one. It's a battle of the big boys.
So this is a grouping we've seen before. It's Jaden and Nathan from the Titans versus Tobias and Alex from the Rebels. So all of our strongest players right up there. And Nathan rings the bell, getting 1 point for the Titans.
I was going to say the next round was women and 4 women playing, and the Rebels won that round.
Then it comes down to the third challenge, and we see the Rebels take it again. And down to the 4th one. It could be game point, and the Rebels take it. So the Rebels win the reward challenge, which is a grazing plate. It looks like our charcuterie board. It's got a lot of crackers and cheese and meats, fruit. It looks really good.
Turns out it came with champagne, too.
Yeah, so then they're back at camp.
It's a nice
They pop
surprise.
into the champagne.
And they find 3 keys.
Right, so there's 3 keys sitting right there on the board, and no one knows what to do with them.
They're very visible. There's no way that Ferris can just slip them into his pocket because they say, oh, what are these about? Where's, what do we think these keys will do? So to make it fair, instead of having Ferris just sneak one in his pocket and run away, they decide that they're going to pair off into 3 groups. Everyone takes a key and kind of see what you can find.
So go look out in the woods. And some people brought their champagne with them, and they went out in the woods.
Yeah, they were having a great time.
Yeah.
Which you may as well. If you've got a reward and you're looking for another little bonus, you may as well enjoy it.
Right.
So we see Ferris, Garrick, and Raymond.
Raymond was with them, but kind of wandered off.
That was a bad thing.
So we see this little trio kind of walking around, and Ferris, of course, knows exactly what the key will open. So he's really taking them pretty quickly to where he knows the box is. And Garrick is right there next to him. He's on lookout. He's helping him.
Where's Raymond?
Yeah, and we see Raymond kind of with his coconut and his champagne glass. He's just kind of walking around, chatting with the other players.
Like
Which
a party.
Unfortunate, because the key does open up the box.
Right.
Ferris finds...
After some dramatic pauses there.
He finds a key and he finds a note that you can give this
Extra key.
to someone on the other team, and then therefore you would maybe make another
Alliance. Sure.
So this is really big, but for some reason, the two of them read it right next to the box. I
Right.
don't know why they didn't move.
Right. Just stuff it in your pants, lock up the box, cover it up, and be gone.
Yeah, why do you think they stayed there?
Well, there's a lot to look at here. So they have the idol to open up. We can assume that the idol came with a note saying, you've found a hidden immunity idol. And then also there's a key with a note. So they have just a lot of stuff in their hands. So I think they're probably just really excited. They know that everyone's kind of wandering around. They think that Raymond is a lookout because he's supposed to be. Little do they know he's wandering around in the woods having fun. So I think they were probably just caught up in the heat of the moment, really excited, and ended up opening the surprise findings right there.
So unfortunately, the other members of the team found them.
I want to jump back just a little bit. I wonder about the other keys. Do you think all three keys opened the box and it was just a race to who could get to the box first? Or was it just really lucky that he had the exact
probably
key?
right. Probably all three keys opened the box. You're probably right.
Because if his key didn't open, what would he do then?
Yeah.
Cover it up and just stand there and wait? Or
You'd have to find an ally to kind of say, hey,
let's switch
swap,
keys?
Yeah, swap keys. But
But they would all just blab. They would tell everybody.
yeah, I would suspect that probably all three keys were the same. They looked really similar, but who knows?
So the first people to come up are Alex, Sarah, and Kelly. And Ferris makes a quick decision, and he decides to tell him that he did find a key.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So Alex just kind of wanders up and he said, what did we find? And then everyone comes around and...
The lookout didn't really fill in his
duties, yeah. So then Kelly comes up and she says, hey, everybody, we found something. Everyone come over. And they decide, okay, we'll go back to the beach and we'll kind of debrief what we found. So Ferris only reads the note that belongs to the key and he doesn't tell anyone about the idol. The problem is the note says, you've already unlocked treasure, but it's like you unlocked something great, but you can have even more power if you give this key to someone else. So it really kind of gives away with the wording of the letter that something was already found. And of course, Alex picks up on this right away because why wouldn't you? You open up a box and it says you can have more power if you give away this key. Of course, there's something else.
Right.
Ferris denies it. He says, you can search my pockets, you can search my bag, no worries, just do whatever you want. And Rihanna says, okay, strip nude, and kind of laughs. And Ferris doesn't do it. He kind of offers to that
No,
I can search him.
They ended up saying, oh, we believe you or whatever. But Alex did not believe him.
But they cut the shots of people not looking like they believed him.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Alex talked to Ferris, and they both lied to each other, like Ferris said. But what can you do?
It's part of the game.
So Ferris says Alex is going home next. That's what he wants. That is his goal for the next tribal.
Because Alex is suspicious of Ferris. He's pretty sure he has an idol or a clue. And so Alex is on to Ferris. Ferris doesn't want anyone to know about the idol. So his thinking is, let's get Alex out right away.
So then we go on to immunity challenge.
Dodgeball.
So this is fun. It's a little bit different than what we normally see for immunity challenges. Typically, the rewards tend to be like a game where you go, everyone gets a point here and there. The immunity challenges that we're used to are like a race and physical and puzzles.
Right, a team against a team, sort of like the whole team together against the other whole team together.
Sure.
Not necessarily just 4 or 5 people.
But the weather looked horrible. It was rainy. It looked so cold, and they're in the water.
So with this challenge, there were 2 members of each team in the water chasing after the ball, and then 2 members of each team up on these little like lifeguard stands, it looked like, and they had to throw the ball at the other players, and if they tagged them, they were out. If they caught the ball, they were not out, and they had the opportunity to throw the ball. So the first one, we see the Titans take the point. Next, we see the Rebels take a point. In the third one, we see Rihanna up on one of the poles. She has the ball. She has the ability to get someone out, and she ends up throwing it at someone who's already out. So you can really see her looking upset with herself for doing this. She, just probably got confused in the excitement of the game. She wanted to throw. She wanted to get someone out, and she got someone who was already out. So then it ends up that did the Titans end up getting that point, I think.
So I have the Titans won the first, Rebels won the second and third, and then the Titans won the fourth.
It must have been the fourth one.
And fourth and fifth.
I want to do a couple of shout outs. So first off, Garrett did a very good job. He was very, very athletic in the
He looked great
water.
swimming.
Yeah, and he was getting that ball. The model,
Valeria.
she did an excellent job. They threw the ball at her and she jumped up in her
Right.
feet with her feet. So they did not get her because she put her feet up. And what about Kirby? She
I know.
kept catching the ball.
I know.
So those are 3
Right.
Standouts.
She's very athletic and
Right, yeah.
And didn't just let the ball hit her like some other players did.
yeah.
I just stood there and watched it come and hit him.
So it was interesting. It was very interesting.
Right.
Yeah, so it ended up with the Titans coming away with the win. So this was their second win, but their first one where the Rebels did not try and throw the challenge. So this was exciting for them. They're jumping up and down. They're very excited
2
to
in a row.
not be going to Tribal Council tonight.
So now we go back to the Rebels tribe. And
We see Aileen come up with a really great plan. She has everyone out at the water well, and she says all of the girls vote for Alex, all of the boys vote for Tobias, and we'll come up with a tie. On the revote, everyone keeps the same votes, and the tiebreaker will be Sarah. So with the alliance being Alex, Tobias, and Sarah, this is really unique because she's putting Sarah in a position where she has to decide which of her allies is going home. And so this is kind of like a torture tactic to make your opponent, make the decision of who's getting sacrificed. But it's a very smart move by Aileen.
It's fantastic. And there's only so many times in a game that this could absolutely work. And this, like everything aligned right now. It all came down to just those 3 who weren't going to be able to decide, or Sarah was going to be able to decide which one of those 2 was going to go home. It was just a great idea
yeah,
to be able to think that all through.
one person that they're worried about, Kelly, right? So
Aileen makes it very clear. It's very simple. Girls vote Alex twice. Boys vote Tobias twice. That's it. That's all you have to remember. And it makes a lot of sense from our end. You pick one name, you write it down twice, that's it. And Kelly says, okay, I'm going to vote Alex. And they say, yes, vote Alex twice. And she's like, well, okay, so who am I voting for? It's going to be Alex. And we see it go over and over again.
So then Aileen takes her hand, says, I'm like her mother, and says, A is for Alex, B is for blindside. That's all you have to worry about. A is for Alex. So,
So in her confessional, Aileen saying that she feels like her mother, really talking through Kelly with this one. So we're all going into Tribal Council, wondering if Kelly is going to remember A for Alex.
Oh, we didn't talk a little bit about Tobias. When we first came back, Tobias was there, and he just seems oblivious, saying, "No, I'm perfectly fine.
yeah,
No problem.
my name's not.
I'm not getting voted off."
And then
he
Kelly asked him if he wanted to talk. He's like, no,
wouldn't even talk. No,
kind of rude.
right. I mean, just listen to somebody's story or what their plan is, and maybe it's a good one.
At least pretend to be friends, even if you're not.
Right, because at
be
the
aligned.
end, it can help you if one of them's on the jury and
Never hurts to have more friends.
Then Alex says it's time to change things up or something, and he wants to blindside Ferris.
Yeah, Alex thinks things have been a little bit boring, and it might be time for a blindside.
It does week.
yeah, right.
It feels like every episode has been a blindside so
Right.
far, and Alex was blindsided last night when he didn't know Peter was going
Right.
home. But we're happy to see him playing the game, finally, scheming up a little bit and trying to make things a little bit more messy.
Which was good because he said last time he was too laid back, wasn't interacting. This time Tobias was not interacting with anyone because he felt so confident. Alex started talking to people, right? He did change his gameplay.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you want to see out of any Survivor player. If they're too complacent and they get blindsided, you want them to come back with a vengeance and come up with a plan. So great job, Alex, for thinking creatively. He decides he wants Ferris to go home because he thinks he has an idol. So he says, we'll flush the idol, we'll send Ferris home. And it'll be easy because somehow he knows that the other tribe is splitting the votes. I'm not really sure. Maybe he just guessed.
He thought Rebel was with them.
Yeah, well, so he thinks that Kirby and Rihanna will be voting with him because they voted with them last night. So that makes sense. He thinks that he has 5 people: Alex, Sarah, Tobias, Kirby, and Rihanna.
Right.
And
so they all vote.
Yeah, so there's
Ferris.
should be 11 people on the tribe at this
Even
point.
Kelly. I think he was thinking Kelly was going to vote with them.
Oh, he was talking to Kelly. So yeah, maybe he was counting Kelly. So maybe he wasn't banking on a split vote. But either way, he decides that it'll be no worries to get Ferris to go home. If he plays his idol, they thought Kelly was going home. So they're under the impression that the majority is voting for Kelly. So they're thinking either Kelly goes home or Ferris goes home. No chance that anyone from the Cuddle Crew is targeted today.
Yeah, either way, they're happy, right?
Yes.
Right. So then we had the tribal, and then Kelly and Alex start talking to each other at tribal, and they're talking about their love-hate relationship. And Alex just is not very nice to Kelly.
Oh, I thought he was pretty nice to Kelly.
All right.
He really seems to dislike Kelly from what we've seen in his confessionals.
Yeah.
That's what I.
Well, I don't think he was mean. And his explanation, he could have been
Love-hate.
said
All
things
hate.
a little. Yes,
Right.
and he didn't say that. I thought he was a little more diplomatic.
Right. He's trying to lean towards love or something like that.
Right.
Well, he said that he feels like a mother-son relationship where you disagree on things, but at the end of the day, you can come together. So I think he's trying to be nice, considering we know that he really is not happy with Kelly. And Kelly is also saying, well, I think it's all kind of on him to kind of make these decisions and repair the relationship. So definitely some tension still growing there, but they're able to have a conversation. They're not fighting in front of everyone. They're not yelling at each
Right.
other. So they have a very civil relationship. So it's really interesting to have watched this over the last 4 episodes, kind of see how they don't like each other, but then they think they might be able to work together. And so there's a lot of kind of back and forth. So then we get to the vote. And so we're thinking, okay, all the girls on Alex, all the boys on Tobias. And we see Kelly walk up and we hear like a little background of someone saying like Tobias, Alex or something. And so I don't know what exactly that was, if that was like a memory of what Kelly's supposed to be thinking. But that kind of made us all kind of sit on the edge of our seats thinking, wait a second, is she going to remember? Is she going to vote the right way?
Right.
And then Jonathan says he's going to go check the votes and count the votes.
Time to
And then
count.
Ferris is like, oh, it's kind of hot in here.
Right.
Is anyone else hot? And then he takes off his shirt to show the idol.
The idol around his neck, and
It was
everybody.
obviously pre-planned. He thought ahead. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to show my chest.
Right.
The idol.
Yes. Right.
Because he's also obviously very fit.
Right. And he had a sweatshirt on. Others just had short sleeves or whatever. Not much on. So it wasn't very cold.
So he probably knew that he was going to play his idol, but and that's why he had it around his neck.
No, I'm just saying he was there for the show.
Which is good. That's what we like to see in a Survivor player, is someone who's ready to make a dramatic announcement.
yes.
He's not just kind of reaching into his bag at the last minute. He's here to play, and he's here to put on an entertaining show for us. So Jonathan says, do I even have to ask? and Ferris walks up, plays his idol for himself. So we were all sitting at home thinking, did he need to do that? It kind of looked suspicious with Kirby and Rihanna. They weren't saying much. What did you guys think at the vote?
With the edit, they made it look like Kirby was kind of disappointed when he played it.
Yes, and she kept looking at Alex.
So I wonder, was that really in real time, or did they just find the shot where she was just looking bored or something? And
they made it look like Kirby voted with them. With
Right.
With Alex.
With the Cuddle Crew.
But
So
count
Ferris
the votes.
did end up playing his idol, and it turns out he gets 3 votes that do not count. And then we get a few votes for Alex, a few votes for Tobias. we're tied. It's 4 votes Alex, 4 votes to, or was it 3 and 3? 3 votes to Alex, 3 votes to Tobias.
3-3-3.
And it all comes down to the last vote. And so this could put us at a tie. If the last vote is read out as Alex, then we have to go to a revote. So Jonathan gets the next piece of paper. He opens it up and he says the 4th player voted out of Australian Survivor. And we're like, wait a second. I thought it was going to be a tie.
Yeah.
And he turns around the paper and it's Tobias is the 4th player voted out this season.
Kelly!
Oh my gosh.
So we see a
Everyone
lot of
knew, yeah.
confused looks.
Yeah.
Aileen's looking around like, what? What just happened? Who messed up?
Because Aileen had the great plan.
Right.
She was the mastermind.
It
She knew
was-
what to do.
It was all very quiet. Like it seemed like no one knew what to say, you know. And
Because it's disappointing. She just
Right,
missed-
yes,
they
there's the
wanted
plan.
Sarah to make the
Right.
decision, not them.
right.
And it would have been a really powerful play
Right.
to
Right.
go to a revote and all
Right.
of this. It would have been really exciting to see. And we don't get that opportunity because Kelly has voted for Tobias. So then we see the team walking back and we hear a little soundbite of Garrick saying, I think I know who that was. And he and Aileen agree it was Kelly.
Right.
Then we go to kind of the after vote and we see who everyone voted for as we hear Tobias say his goodbyes. And Kelly shows us her vote for Tobias and she says, I'm voting for you against my tribe because I cannot work with you, but I might be able to work with Alex. So this is nice to hear that it's not that Kelly got nervous and forgot. She had a plan. So I think that's something really interesting about Kelly is that she is a very smart player and she knows what she's doing, but she kind of puts on this air like, oh, I forgot, I might mess it up. So I'm wondering how she'll play that off when we get back to camp. Is she going to pretend like she forgot or is she going to own up to it and say, no, I wanted Tobias out and I wanted to keep Alex around?
Well, of course you can do whatever you want. That is, you know, free will. But I don't think it's going to go well with her tribe. I think she's the next one out.
Right. I think that everyone's going to be unhappy with her. No one's going to disagree with whether they should vote her out.
Right.
But who knows? You don't know what's going to happen. Could be a merge or whatever. Or who
Tribe
knows?
swap, yeah.
Yeah,
But
she could find an idol. It could be anything.
That's true. I am concerned that about Tobias's strength leaving the tribe. But I don't know what else they could have done. But you know, I they
Right.
do need strength, especially with Jaden on that other team. I mean, my gosh, that man can.
Right. Well, the
anything.
Titans are going to be thrilled to see that he's gone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right.
it'll make their life easier.
So here's what I think. When Aileen made up the plan, she should have told Kelly, or she should have just told the women to vote for Tobias.
Yes.
And then that way, Kelly wouldn't have had to not vote. She could have still kept Alex.
But she didn't know about Alex and that Kelly wants to work with Alex.
Okay, but she sees Kelly and Kelly hanging out next to
that's
Alex,
true.
and while he's flexing, she's standing there like, "Ooh,
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know."
That's true.
She's sometimes like a teenager next to him. It seems like to me from the shots we see. So that was just a little minor flaw, but who would have thought that would have happened? You know?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So if Aileen had happened to have switched and said girls on Tobias, boys on Alex, what would have happened? Would Kelly have
Right?
still
she might have
voted
said,
for Tobias?
"Absolutely, I'm not voting for Alex."
Yeah.
Right?
Or would she have known what was going to happen and gone to someone like Ferris and said, hey, why don't you vote for Tobias?
Oh,
Would she have
yeah.
tried to switch the vote? Or
Right.
would it have gone as planned and we would have seen the revote where Sarah had to decide?
When we meet Kelly,
Yeah. I guess we'll never know, but it's
Well,
very
maybe.
interesting to consider.
you never
So-
know, we might meet her.
If anyone from the game is listening, write in. What do you think could have happened? Well, yeah,
Kelly can tell us herself.
That would be great.
let us know what would have happened if Aileen had said, Kelly, vote for Tobias. All the girls on Tobias.
Well, once again, a very, very interesting,
Right.
exciting episode.
And great move by Aileen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another blindside, I'd say. I think
Yes.
we as viewers expected someone from the Cuddle Crew to go home,
Yes.
but they definitely did not. So very interesting 4th episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with episode 5 of Australian Survivor Titans vs. Rebels. And in the meantime, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at ATA Survivor, TikTok at the same username. Send us an email at ataustraliansurvivor@gmail.com or call and leave us a voicemail at 475 4 podcast. We would love to know what your thoughts are on this season so far, what you think would have happened had Kelly been told to vote for Tobias, and just in general, what do you think, how do you think the players are doing? Can't wait to hear from you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, bye.